Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Hello.
this, our introduction video for Starfinder Dead Sun campaign, I think, right?
That's
That's
what
it's
it's
All
called.
right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're gonna play Starfinder. We're gonna travel the stars and find things and adventure and awesomeness, probably. Yes. Who do we have with us in this amazing quest to find the stars? Well, I'm going to play this, and we have Halldamir.
Hello.
Hello!
It's me.
It is. We also have illustrious player Manikai.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. American player Jake.
Hi.
And the pride of South Carolina, Griffith.
As opposed to America, probably.
Yes, very important
Get
distinction.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say it.
Something Confederacy, right?
And to DM all of this, we have Sheep.
Yes. Hello.
Fresh from such hits as a 13th Age. Yes. So, Sheep. This is very professional as always. We are going to play Starfinder, Sheep. What is Starfinder? Explain.
So, Starfinder is, for all intents and purposes, the successor to Pathfinder, hence the similar name, published by Paizo. It is not only the successor as in it's the next thing that Paizo are releasing, it is also the successor in terms of setting. Mechanically, I think it addresses many of the issues that Pathfinder had, much of the bloat and much of the just unbalanced things, really. Although, of course, some are simply fixed due to the fact that only the core rulebook has been released so far. And supplements might change that, but we're just going to ignore all supplements. So that's one issue fixed. It adds a ton of interesting stuff, sci-fi stuff, class abilities. There's no single boring class. Like there is no fighter that only gets to hit things. Everyone has special things. There are spaceships and those things. If Pathfinder is a fantasy setting, then Starfinder is a science fantasy setting. It, as I said, is the successor to Pathfinder, which means it plays in the same universe with many of the same deities, many of the same races, although many of the usual standard races have somewhat been put into the background to make room for, well, more exotic alien races. It is pretty much the Pathfinder setting, except in the future. There's a bit of a twist, though, because about 300 or so years ago, the planet of Golarion, which is where the entirety of the Pathfinder setting happened, has just disappeared. And nobody really knows why. And even, like, the deities and demon lords, they're just like, nah, can never be found. We're not telling you more. Whether they don't actually know where it went, or whether they just refuse to say, that's up for debate. But a new center of the setting has appeared in Golarion instead, which is Absalom Station, the new home of humanity and many of the races that have been on Golarion before. It is ran by the clerics of Abadar, who are now not only a church, but also have turned into a bit of a corporation. Also worth noting that shortly after the disappearance of the planet, Golarion, there has been a new deity called Triune, who is the god of artificial intelligence, and as its first action, it shared pretty much with every sentient species, anywhere mostly. It shared its knowledge about a place called the Drift, which is a plane of existence that can only be reached with technology. The specific technology of how to reach it, the deity also shared, which suddenly gave everyone the ability to basically go there and, more important, use the plane with the technology to travel to other places in the material plane very, very quickly. While spacefaring technology and such had been invented by some species at that point already, this technology meant that you could really travel very, very, very far in a very, very short amount of time. My nose is a little stuffy. This specific campaign plays about 300 or so years after this deity has revealed itself. And our PCs here, our party, are eager applicants, more or less, to the Starfinder Society, which is the equivalent of the Pathfinder Society, except in space. They are just about to arrive in Absalom Station to meet with their would-be recruiter, with the station abuzz with speculation about a currently quarantined mining ship floating near the station, which has recently brought an asteroid with it from the drift. And who knows what's going to happen with that. So yeah, that's what we're playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
The excitement is palpable.
We're shocked. Everyone is shocked.
I'm sinking.
Maybe we shouldn't have done this on a Monday
I
afternoon.
am also super tired, but nevertheless, we shall persevere here. I guess next up, presenting the party might be a good idea. We go start from the left and go to right, basically. Present your character, and who is the character and why is he being a Starfinder, sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am playing Thaddeus Frayne. An Absalom Station, but not really growing up. He didn't really grow up there. He was taken away by his mother, who fled from his father's grasp, with Thaddeus clutched to her chest, and fled to the only planet that she could think his father wouldn't follow him to. A horrible planet of death and destruction. Akaton. A quite horrible place where giant lizard people go crazy after fornicating.
Well,
yeah.
sounds like a party place.
Murderous. Murderous crazy. While running away, she stole her husband's rifle, the only thing that she could think of to protect herself in the place that, she was going to take her son to. But, yeah, it's not great. So, naturally, she trained Thaddeus how to shoot, until the horrible day when he was just 13. His mother was killed by said crazy lizard folk. And after that, he seemed to get a bit of a vendetta from the death of his mother against this alien race. He decided to pretty much hunt down any of this race that did go crazy, and killing them quite quickly and from quite a range. He became quite the marksman. After a few years, he was approached by a member of the Kulan, an organization on Akaton, to kill one of these lizard folk high merchants without anyone really knowing. So, using his stealth and very great range, he pulled it off. Now, doing that for almost a decade now, he's in his 30s, and he's traveled pretty much everywhere. Not for long, but it's just a day on another planet, do a job, and then he leaves. For some reason, he always comes back to Akaton. And he decides that he wants to have a change in pace. And he's not really the most hireable person. So really, the only place that will take him in, that will give him any sort of money, will be the Starfinder Society. He just hopes he can get through Absalom Station without his father being around.
Alright, so in mechanical terms, what class?
He is playing a soldier, which I suppose is the like the child of the fighter from Pathfinder. He's using the technique sharpshooter, or sharpshoot, I think is actually called, but that's a bit weird. So he is specifically designed to shoot at very long distances, hundreds of feet in distance. Later on, probably thousands.
Well,
so that'll be fun.
Hope sheep have big maps.
Yeah.
It's
It's gonna be
just
great.
going to be like these 1 square
By
wide corridors.
our token size, I think a fairly big map.
It's just,
Yeah.
I'll say.
And he's also a ace pilot. You
Okay.
don't really shoot a dignitary without needing some way of getting away.
Okay. All right, on
So,
to
yeah.
next, which is Victor.
So maybe we should take Jake's character first.
All
Yeah,
right,
because
but
we're
Jake
gonna
needs to go.
in like
It's
10
true.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, Jake.
So, I have significantly less interesting things to say at the current moment. However, I am playing Madar Karo Yakwad of Clan Boss Kalsiyuj, shortened to Madar, a Kasatha Solarian. Basically like a space four-arm Jedi bounty hunter boy that receives text messages.
Oh,
Dude, that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
that is something.
See, how does he text with 4 arms? Like,
Yeah.
Very
These
efficiently.
one- Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two
He,
times, or-
he's got a little space cannon thing on his arm that only shoots like 5 feet, but it's cool.
Wow.
And he carries around some guns of types.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a bounty hunter, and he's joining the Starfinders because in the area of space that he has been bounty hunting sucks right now. And also, Kasathas are into like exploration and figuring out different cultures and learning languages and doing all sorts of interesting explory stuff like that. So moving into the Starfinders to help them out and maybe fulfill an ancient promise, and by ancient I mean old and not really ancient because Kasathas don't live that long. He's joining the Starfinders to maybe fulfill a promise and figure out how the hell to make some money right now
Uh-huh.
and
In these
stop
economic
crime.
times. Okay,
That's
sure.
fuck crime.
That's on his T-shirt.
Yeah.
So, Solarian. Okay, so
Yes.
sort of Jedi.
Sort of Jedi, except I didn't want to go with the like Jedi thing because that's the obvious one. So he's, as a Solarian, you can manifest a solar weapon or solar armor, and I chose a weapon, which I am basically they all function the exact same way, but you can kind of like lore it out how you want.
Sure.
And so I have it as like a little gauntlet that fires like an energy spike that dissipates after melee range.
Okay, sure.
And it does piercing damage and receives texts.
It's like, it's like, oh, hold on, guys. I need to check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He also has a
fire
little
there.
computerized companion
Mhm.
that he has basically. He bought a specialized comlink basically, and it's a little companion, and it's like a miniature Google, and he can reference. Basically, he can tell it to store information, and then retrieve that information and like Google things, and it has a little personality, and he's friends with it because he doesn't have any other friends.
Oh,
And its name is Clank.
He was
Clank.
locked in the space mines of Sulfur 4. It was the only one he had. Two.
As far as other backstory, he was born on the colony ship Idari, which orbits a planet that I forget the name of, but basically the Kasathas are from an ancient dying star far, far away, and when all the space crap happened, they were like, wow, someone told us about this planet that I forget the name of. Let's go there because it's better. And then by the time they got there, it had been colonized and they can't take it over anymore. So they just kind of hang out in orbit being peaceful culture lovers.
Wow.
And so that's where I grew up. And I hate crime, so I bounty hunt them.
Okay.
That's what I got right now.
No,
I
that's
made this
fine.
character over the course of 3 hours last night. So
Went to the academy. Was too hardcore.
yeah. Police wouldn't let me in.
That's right.
My space Jedi bounty hunter powers really wowed them.
I
They
bet.
were like, wow, that's a lot.
Recruit, how would you deal with shoplifter? Fuck him up. Go.
Why were
How much
the
would it pay me to slay him?
where were the snack bar taken? Where is it? Yeah, it's I can see it. All right.
So, yes.
In that case, I'm gonna head over to my character, Telos 7, or just Telos, or 7, or whatever else you might want to call him. Telos is a android. He, as such, was not really born as much as he was built. And he was built by a ruthless warlord on some backwater planet who basically made 9 of these androids. And Telos is the 7th. He wanted them to be his henchmen, basically. He wanted people who could infiltrate, who could investigate, and who could assassinate. And so he built these 9 androids to do just that for him. When Telos woke to self-awareness, he got told that since there were various amounts of costs related to his manufacture, he had to work that off, basically, and worked as an indentured servant for several years, and hated every goddamn second of it. It wasn't nice work. It was more or less trying to cement the warlord's grip on his little fiefdom. Terror missions, assassinations, disappearances, plants, anything to further his own power, basically. And Telos was part of that operation. Not something he's very proud of. And he managed to flee, and he fled to Absalom Station, a place he had heard could be a safe haven for androids such as himself, following in the footsteps of the great android sort of awakening or uprising that was several years, decades even ago. On Absalom Station, he suddenly saw what a sort of functioning society could look like. And he had like a revelation. He was like, yes, I want to further this. I want to further a place for justice, for community, for civilization. This is how it should be, you know. And so he started to try to help out, and actually landed a gig for the I want to say the peacekeepers. Is that correct, Sheep? I seem to...
The stewards.
The stewards. I always forget that. The stewards on the station, which is a faction that works as the station police. Basically, they patrol, they guard, they investigate. It's like space FBI, more or less. And so he worked there. A lowly grunt at first, but working his way up to his first sort of investigation job, which led him to a high priest / CEO of Amador Corp, not CEO, but one of the higher ups in Amador Corp. As it turns out, corrupt official who had his hand in smuggling, money laundering, racketeering, like all the nasty mob stuff. And when Telos 7 brought his evidence to his superiors, they basically told him to not touch that guy. He persevered and got fired for it. He was a loose cannon, and they wanted his badge and his gun. And he took both and ran away, more or less. He was fired. He's not wanted or anything, but he was fired from it. And since then, he has had something of a crisis of faith. He thought that Absalom Station could be this beacon of civilization, but now that corruption is evident within the stewards and like in the system, he doesn't really know how to fix it. He still believes that this is the way to go. This is how you should do things. But when the system is broken and you can't use the system to fix the system, well, what remains to him seems to be vigilantism, and that's something that seems very close to what he did for that warlord. So he's not really sure what to do, and landed himself in a bit of almost a mental breakdown of a sort. Finally, he sort of gathered his wits. After a couple of drinks of space whiskey, and decided that he had to do something. He couldn't really stay here doing nothing, but his particular skill set leans him to do bad stuff. And so when he saw that the Starfinders were hiring, he thought like, oh, this could be a place for me to actually apply my skills and not having to become a horrible criminal to do so. Mechanically, Telos 7 is an operative, and he skews towards the detective archetype, which means that he is fairly perceptive, he is fairly smart. He is sort of a mix of the rogue and I guess the bard. It's sort of in between there for him, which means that he can sneak attack, he can do lots of damage that way, and he's also very good at like science and mechanical stuff. On a spaceship, he would be probably the science officer or the mechanic. He is analytical, somewhat like cold and calculating in his demeanor. Like all androids, he has trouble expressing his feelings. It's not that he doesn't have feelings; he just isn't really good at expressing them. He also has some trouble understanding feelings in others. So he can be, he can come across as pretty like stiff, I guess, or just emotionless. But he is far from it. He's very passionate at what he does. He just needs to, sometimes and some good friends to help him come to grips with himself, basically. I think he's 5 or 7 years old. I forget exactly how old I said him to be, but he is, all things considered, very young in this galaxy and has much to learn still. Okay, that was my character, Manakai.
Yes, I will be playing as Victor, aka impossibly impronounceable Snake Noises. So he's his Vesk name, or as his fans would know him, the Red Terror. Yes, Victor is 20. He is absolutely massive, even like especially for a male of his species, towering over every other male Vesk that he knows. Some might even from behind think him female because of his size. He is strong and athletic and has always been so. He comes from a really good environment. His father works as a doctor. His mother is a gardener, and they are both staunch, very peaceful, lovely pacifists. They're cosmopolitan. They love everything about like what Epsilon Station is all about, like cosmopolitan leadership and progress together. And they're not Vesk at all. And actually, they don't like Vesk culture particularly much. They think it's brutish and violent and savage, which is not proud of at all. They paid. They're earning good money. Paid for him to get into space college. He was not really much of a student. Always sort of a wild child, but he didn't say no because he didn't really know what to do with his life. There in space college, he got with his roommate named Greg, whose dad is a high up in Abadar Corp, and Greg knew that there was this club where some amateurs did some space wrestling, and it sounded fun, and Victor got into it, and suddenly there was a little Yisoki telling him that he could be a star, and he wrote his name on the thing, and then he was out of college and in the Abadar Station space wrestling organization, and he had a storyline. He is the Red Terror, and he was rising up, being a bad guy. He had a bunch of cronies who would hit people in the head while they were fighting him, and it was all great. Everything really was going up for him. For a young Vesk, this was lovely. His family didn't like it. They don't talk about what he does. He's perpetuating a stereotype of Vesk being violent and brutish, and they don't like it at all. But, I mean, you know, he didn't like going to college. He studied common there. It was really just because it was the easiest thing that he could think of when he had to sign up. And it didn't have any, like, grade average. So, you know, he got in easily. And now Greg has a Bismara worshipping space wrestling fan of a girlfriend, and his dad is not happy with it at all. But neither of the two of them generally care much. They still hang out. Yeah. The Red Terror, however, as storylines do, has to develop. And as his little manager, little rat manager, has always has a plan for how to further his career. Added to the storyline, in the final battle for the championship, Victor lost to a hero, a Shiran hero who's fighting so he can earn money to free some of his people from captivity. Very, very heroic story. He has always been Victor's sort of space wrestling rival, though in reality they're great friends. So he was defeated, his cronies knocked out, and in the moment where he would be struck down, the hero, the face, reached his hand down and picked him up and told him that inside that big red monster of his, there was a beating heart, and that he too someday would see that why and how he had been so wrong all these years. And of course the Red Terror ran and sneered. However, as the storyline is written, the Red Terror now goes out on a quest to redemption. And he will return in the final battle of the next championship, where he will team up with his old rival, come back as a good guy, and save him from his old cronies who have gathered together to beat the one who beat their boss. It's a very heroic tale. They haven't gotten to that part now, though, and Victor kind of has to sit out for a season. They can get pretty long, depending on how things go, but in the meantime, his manager, who always has a plan, figured out that if you join the Starfinders, they do some pretty heroic stuff. Then not only will that help a lot with, like, getting your image from being a bad guy to a good guy, heel to face, but it will also help to sort of, you know, Victor he's having a lot of fun with this, but sometimes he does kind of want to make his parents proud, and he thinks that if he goes out and does some good stuff, they might see that, you know, that having a good time and being wild and such is not all for the bad. Not always. Yeah, so the Starfinder seemed best. He'd show up to his meeting with a I love the Starfinders t-shirt and treat it slightly nervously as an interview for a job or something. He is young, he's big. He likes to enjoy himself. You know, you'd see him on the space couch watching the game with a foam finger and a beer or something like that, or maybe in a tank top doing pull-ups in his room. He is generally pretty down to earth and pretty chill as it goes. As for his class and such, he is an icon for his theme, with space wrestling for his special profession. He is, other than that though, he is a blitz-focused soldier, meaning he does melee stuff and he's good at being fast and such, wielding generally two-handed big weapons, being particularly more fast than people of his size due to having trained space wrestling, although it is about strength. It's also about being agile and actually skilled enough to not actually hurt your foes.
Mhm.
Fighting for real will be somewhat of a new thing for him. Somewhat. Yeah, that was a bit. Don't know if I missed anything important, but I'm sure there's more stuff. I've talked and thought about Victor a lot. He just goes by Victor because it's easier than making people say weird Vesk like lizard noises that his birth name would be. He was called up after some rebel a long time ago, some pacifist philosopher in ancient Vesk culture. But just call him Victor. Fans call him the Red Terror, but he kind of want to stay in character for them to not disappoint them when he meets them. But yeah, other than that, he's just Victor.
All right. That brings us to Griffiths.
Sorry, guys, got to go to work. Take care.
Oh well.
Find out next time.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, what a cliffhanger. This is Griffith, I reckon. I'm playing Griffith, no. I'm playing Telos Sapratha Calabel, sometimes called Tass or Cowbell, depending on which regional news service or infonet or blog you hit up. He is a personal trainer, a health guru, fitness icon. He's full of motivational statements like, believe in the you that believes in me, and opportunities don't happen, you create them. He has numerous fitness certifications. Wow, good work. You can tell how tired I am. Certifications. He has traveled the Packed Worlds. He knows how to maximize your gains. He's got self-help books like Tass's 12 Tricks to Pound Your Fat. He's got self-published videos on Galactic Infonets. He occasionally does charity work for people who can't afford technology or magic to fix their bodies. He never officially studied biology, doesn't really know botany, he couldn't tell you about genetics, or, fucking how the cosmos works. But he knows your muscle groups, and how to emphasize them in workouts, and what food can be used to swallow them. No matter what race you are. So long as you live in the Packed Worlds, he thinks he's got you covered, and that's what matters. Tass applied to the Starfinder Society for 3 main reasons. He seeks exercise techniques and herbal ingredients from beyond the Packed Worlds, so he may return home with glory. He wants to test his prowess against unprecedented challenges and build his brand off his success stories. And he is stalked by vengeful spouses and pushy people who won't take no for an answer, and they are really cramping his style. Mechanically, Telos is a Korasha Lashunta envoy from Castrovel. Basically, he's a space bard with 4-head antennae, telepathic powers, and sex pheromones. Yes, that's officially stated in what Lashunta have. Sex pheromones from a tropical planet full of megafauna, megacorporations, and mega-pissed elves. It turns out after Galarian blew up that elves wanted somewhere to go, and they already had a spot on the homeworld of the Lashunta, and so they have their own continent, and they're really supermassive dicks there.
Yeah, elves being dicks. Who knew that could be a thing?
I think my character might just shoot you.
Well, you live on a planet full of psychic sex pheromone people.
It's okay.
It's very elvy, isn't it?
Telos knows how to work. How to work elves. He's got it.
I'm looking forward to sex pheromone Griffith.
Yeah.
So it'll be great. He totally his professional outfit consists of this light blue mesh gauze tank top, so it's fucking see through, so you can see his washboard abs. And he's got fucking motivational statements on the tank top, or his fucking face as he's selling shit.
Oh no!
Or pithy jokes like, how do I catch bears on the front, and then the back it points up with these traps.
This is gonna be.
And my guy's got 2 boots but don't match, and one set of laces, and
he's got black running shirt and custom made athletic shoes, and he is fucking it's like he's simultaneously flirting with you while also trying to sell you on how he can improve your body. He's not like a snake oil guy or like a used car salesman. He knows he could work you and he can make you better. But you just have to want it, man.
I mean, look at him. If that guy tells you that you have to want it, you want it.
I want it. Looking at him, I want it.
So yes, like he hasn't really done like fighting. He's had to like defend himself now and then because there are people who don't exactly approve of his lifestyle choices. His hobbies have consisted of javelin throwing and racing recklessly. That's not a big deal. The whole like exploring beyond the pack world thing and like really fighting other things. It can't be that hard, baby. Also expect to be called like endearing words that he throws around freely, like baby and honey and sweetie. Whatever the space version of those words are, translated into common, they will be baby and honey and sweetie, no matter what.
Wow. That sounds great.
There you go.
We need someone not being dour on the ship.
He's got a wisdom of 8. He can't see why he should be down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
God.
Well, it sounds to me we have a wonderful cast of characters here. That would do great things. Or forget to press a button and die. I guess we'll see.
I feel like we're going to be the guardians of the galaxy.
For that we need like a sexy green space ninja.
I'm sure we'll find one.
I guess Victor. He's kind of green, right?
He's the sexy green space monster.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're into, I suppose.
Hey.
I've had fan mail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Bet you did.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, yeah. This is going to be running on Fridays. And I think, Sheep, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to do every other Friday, right?
Yes.
So two times a month we're going to play this.
That said, our first session does not begin on a Friday.
That is true. It begins on a Sunday. More specifically, this Sunday, which is to say, Sunday the 10th.
That one.
Of September.
Exactly. Sunday. You paid for the whole seat, you will only need the edge.
It's quite the rip-off, really. You should really talk to the ticket.
I'll make sure they use the whole seat.
That's right. But
do you know how many abs, how many ab exercises you can use?
How many abs?
How many
abs you can use?
Wow.
You can use all of them.
Wow. That is...
all the abs.
But yeah, on Sunday, the 10th, we're going to have the first session. We are going for normal session time, Sheep? I'm actually unsure here.
Yes.
Okay.
Like 3 in the morning.
Normal session time. If you wonder when that is, look below in the description, and there will be times and links and stuff for all of that. Yeah, that's it basically. Sheep, do you have anything final to say before we sign off?
Well, for anyone who plans to watch this, look forward to science fantasy and guns and spaceships and aliens and probably maybe not robot scorpions. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't like the probably not.
Oh, one last thing.
Character the feat to sprint 6 times speed. So.
Wow, that is fast.
Yeah, you go like my sniper rifle distance.
That is
Nope.
high. Jesus Christ. I will say also, just to remind everyone that's watching this is a published adventure path, so no spoilers, please. Feel free to talk about the game and what we're doing and stuff, but no spoilers. I will block you if I see a spoiler.
I'll be sad.
Yeah, and despite this being a published adventure path, for anyone who actually knows the adventure path, don't spoil it, and also don't expect me to do things exactly as the book says.
Right. It's a guideline. It's not a step-by-step manual.
You got tailor-made things for these characters, man.
That's true.
Yeah.
Look at how Way of the Wicked turned out. My God. Yeah. So with that, we hope you enjoyed the series. and we will see you soon.
Hope you enjoy your sick gains, bros!